The Encyclopedia Test. In June 2017, Pedro Ruiz and Mona Lisa Perez decided their YouTube channel needed more views. Their wholesome family videos weren't working, so they switched to pranks. The numbers went up. Pedro figured if pranks worked, extreme pranks would work even better. So he came up with a simple test. See if a book could stop a bullet. He would hold a 1.5-inch encyclopedia to his chest. Mona Lisa would shoot it from 1 foot away. Simple. They set up cameras and invited over 30 friends to watch. The gun they chose was a Desert Eagle, one of the most powerful handguns in the world. She pulled the trigger. The bullet went straight through the book and killed Pedro instantly. Mona Lisa called the police and claimed she'd accidentally shot her boyfriend. The footage said otherwise. She pleaded guilty to manslaughter and got 180 days in prison. The video went viral worldwide, just not how they planned. Who wants some of this? It was 2004 in Wales when a young man invited friends back to his apartment after a night of heavy drinking. The party continued at his place, and that's when he got a brilliant idea. He pulled down his trousers and stuck himself out the window, yelling, "Who wants some of this?" to the street below. His friends grabbed him before he could fall out of the 3-story window. The next morning, he admitted it had been pretty stupid. He promised he'd never do anything like that again. That very evening, he was drunk again. And once again, he pulled down his trousers and started yelling, "Who wants some of this?" out the window. This time, his friends weren't close enough to grab him. He tumbled out of the 3-story window and died on impact. The Patriotic Hat. On July 4th, 2024, in Summerville, South Carolina, Alan Ray McGrew decided to take his patriotic costume to the next level. The 41-year-old HVAC technician was hosting a neighborhood block party, dressed in a red, white, and blue Uncle Sam outfit with a top hat. The drinking had started around 6 p.m. Fireworks were planned for the evening. Alan loved his country and looked forward to celebrating each year. At around 10:20 p.m., Alan placed a large firework right on top of his Uncle Sam hat. His wife Paige thought he was just messing around. Surely he wouldn't light something on his head. He had already lit it. The firework exploded and caused what paramedics called massive head trauma. Alan was dead instantly. He had become his own fireworks display. The DIY bungee jump. On July 12, 1997, Eric Barsha decided to go bungee jumping on his day off. The 22-year-old fast food worker couldn't find any bungee jumping places in the area, so he figured he'd do it himself. He picked a railroad bridge in Lake Accotink Park, Virginia. It was 70 feet high, perfect for a homemade bungee jump. Eric tied together several bungee cords and reinforced them with duct tape. He was really thinking about safety. He tied one end around his leg and the other to the bridge. Then he jumped. There was just one problem with his plan. Eric never considered that bungee cords stretch when you fall. The cords he'd tied together were already a few feet shorter than the bridge height. When they stretched, they became even longer than the distance to the ground. Eric hit the pavement 70 feet below with such force that he died instantly. A local man found his body the next morning with the bungee cord still attached to his leg. His grandmother told reporters he was always so smart in school. The fish that fought back. In 1998, a man from Ohio was hanging out with his friend when he got dared to do something stupid. His friend was cleaning out a fish tank and said that one of the fish, about 5 inches long, had been eating all the other fish. The man decided to give this fish payback. He would swallow it whole. He had done this trick before. He picked up the fish and held it over his mouth. Then he gulped it down. The fish fought back. It got stuck in his throat and was too slippery to pull out. He couldn't breathe and struggled for several minutes while his friend called 911. When paramedics got there, the man was dead, but the fish was still alive with its tail sticking out of his mouth. Both the man and the fish died. The fake robbery. On January 18, 1977, Italian footballer Luciano Recchiaconi had a brilliant idea. The 28-year-old Lazio player, known as the Blonde Angel, was famous for his pranks. Recchiaconi and his teammate Pietro Gadin decided to stage a fake robbery at their friend Bruno Tabacini's jewelry store in Rome. They thought it would be funny to scare Bruno and then laugh about it later. They covered their faces and walked into the store with guns out, yelling, "Hands in the air! This is a stick-up!" There was one problem with their plan. The jewelry store had been robbed just a few weeks earlier. Bruno was scared it would happen again, so he had gotten a shotgun to protect himself. When Bruno saw the robbers, he pulled out his shotgun. Pietro immediately put his hands up, but Recchiaconi kept going with the prank. He wouldn't put his gun down. Bruno was scared and shot Recchiaconi in the chest from close range. Recchiaconi's last words were, "It's a joke! It's just a joke!" But it was too late. He died 30 minutes later at 28 years old, leaving behind his wife and 2 kids. Bruno Tabacini was arrested and held for 18 days before being released without charge. It was declared that the death was the result of self-defense and a terrible accident. the sleeping bear. In 1906, a young hunter in Pennsylvania was out hunting when he found a huge black bear lying on the ground. The bear looked dead, and the hunter thought he got lucky. He found a free bear without having to shoot it. So he got out his knife and started cutting up the animal right away. There was just one problem. The hunter never checked if the bear was really dead. He just started cutting. The bear wasn't dead. It was sleeping. When the hunter started cutting it, the bear woke up angry. It attacked and tore the hunter to pieces. The hunter died right there. The scooter duel. In 2004, two Taiwanese college students met up one evening and had a few drinks. After talking, they both found out they liked the same girl on campus. This got them upset, and they decided to have a contest to see who would get the right to ask her out. How did they settle this? Rock, paper, scissors? A coin flip? Nope. They decided to joust like knights. But instead of horses, they would use their scooters. The rules were simple. They would ride straight at each other at full speed, and whoever turned away first would lose. So without helmets or any safety gear, the two rode their scooters directly at each other, hitting 50 miles per hour. Neither one wanted to be the first to chicken out. They crashed head-on. Both of them died. Later, someone asked the girl about it. She said she wasn't interested in either of them anyway. They both died for nothing. The water thief. On April 19, 2022, Easter Monday in Italy, a 46-year-old man was thirsty. All the stores were closed for the holiday, so he broke into a grocery store to get some water. He found a huge tower of water bottle boxes stacked up by the workers. Instead of taking a bottle from the shelf, he decided to pull one from the middle of the stack. Anyone who's played Jenga knows this is a bad idea. He grabbed a bottle from a box right in the middle of the tower. The whole thing came down on top of him. The man got crushed under all that water and died right away. Store workers found the mess the next day when they came to work. They started cleaning up the fallen boxes and lifting them one by one. When they lifted the first box, an arm stuck out. The police watched security camera footage to see what happened. The man had broken in just to get a drink and got killed by the water he was trying to steal. The unbreakable window. Gary Hoy was a lawyer in Toronto. He worked on the 24th floor and had a weird habit. Whenever law students visited his firm, Gary liked to show them how strong the windows were by running across his office and slamming his whole body into the window. Gary had done this dozens of times. The windows never broke. On July 9, 1993, Gary was giving law students a tour. "These windows can't break," he said. He ran backward and threw himself at the window. It worked perfectly. He bounced right off. Feeling good, Gary decided to do it again. This time, the glass didn't break, but the whole window popped out of its frame. Gary went flying 24 stories down, riding the window all the way to the street. The law students and his co-workers watched in horror. Gary had hit that window so many times over the years that he'd loosened the frame. He died instantly. Hold your Wii for a Wii. In 2007, Jennifer Strange heard about a radio contest in Sacramento. The 28-year-old mother of 3 wanted to win a Nintendo Wii for her kids. The contest was called Hold Your Wii for a Wii. You had to drink water and hold it in without using the bathroom. Jennifer showed up with about 20 other contestants. They started drinking bottle after bottle of water. As hours went by, contestants dropped out to use the bathroom. Jennifer held on. After several hours, Jennifer started throwing up, but she didn't quit. Jennifer won the contest and got her Nintendo Wii. She went home feeling terrible. The next day, she called in sick with a massive headache. A few hours later, Jennifer was dead. She had died from water intoxication. Too much water made her brain swell up. Her 3 children lost their mother over a video game. Her family sued the radio station and won $16.5 million. Road Rage Showdown. In 2021, 2 drivers crashed on Interstate 80 in Berkeley. Nobody got hurt, but both drivers got out to argue about it. They didn't pull over. They started yelling at each other right in the middle of the highway. Cars were flying by. The 2 men kept shouting and making threats. Then a Mini Cooper came down the road. The driver swerved to avoid the damaged cars, but couldn't miss the 2 idiots fighting in traffic. The Mini Cooper hit both of them. They both died instantly. The Mini Cooper driver was traumatized. The umbrella trick. Back in 1999, a bizarre story out of Bonn, Germany made headlines. It was said that a local street performer had built his career on extreme tricks. He was normally just a sword swallower. He could apparently fit long balloons, metal rods, and even umbrellas down his throat. Crowds loved it. One day, during a performance, he decided to push the act further. He grabbed a folded umbrella and began swallowing it to show off his skills. While sliding the umbrella down, he accidentally pressed the automatic release button on the handle. The umbrella snapped open, while still in his throat. The crowd watched in shock. The performer collapsed instantly. It sounds like the perfect Darwin Award, but there's one problem. Nobody has ever confirmed it actually happened. Sword swallowers themselves later came forward to call the story impossible. A folded umbrella is far too wide to even fit down a throat. That leaves the umbrella trick as one of the most popular Darwin Award legends, but almost certainly nothing more than an urban legend. The falling dog. In 1988 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a little poodle named Kachi was playing on a balcony. The dog was having fun when it suddenly fell off the railing. Kachi plunged 13 floors down to the street. The poodle landed directly on the head of 75-year-old Marta Espina, who was walking along the sidewalk. The falling dog killed her instantly. But that wasn't the end of it. A crowd rushed over to see what happened. A woman named Edith Solo came over to look at the scene. While Edith was distracted by the carnage, she walked into the street and got hit by a bus. She died too, but the chaos wasn't over yet. An older man saw all this happening and got so stressed out that he had a fatal heart attack on the spot. One falling poodle killed 3 people in 5 minutes. Kachi the poodle probably has the highest kill count of any dog in history. The bridge jump. On May 24, 2019, 2 friends from Texas were driving south through Lake Charles, Louisiana at 2 in the morning. Alejandro Cazares was behind the wheel. Roberto Moreno was riding shotgun. They came to a drawbridge that was up to let boats pass. A safety gate blocked the road. Most people would wait for the bridge to come back down. Not these guys. Roberto got out of the car and pushed the safety gate up out of the way. He jumped back in the car. Cazares drove under the gate and headed straight for the bridge ramp. They stopped for a second at the bottom. Then Cazares put the car in reverse, backed up, and floored it. They were going to jump the gap like in an action movie. The car went airborne for a brief moment. Then it crashed into the water below. The car sank to the bottom. Cazares was trapped inside and drowned. Moreno was found outside the submerged car, but he drowned too. The plastic bag beekeeper. In 2002, a Brazilian farmer found a beehive on his property, so he decided to get rid of them by using fire. The farmer put on gloves, long pants, and a long-sleeved shirt. He sealed everything with tape so bees couldn't crawl into his clothes. Then he put a plastic bag over his head and sealed it tightly around his neck. This would protect his face from bee stings. Finally, he grabbed a torch and went off to burn the hive. A few hours later, he hadn't come back. His worried wife went looking for him. She found him dead under the beehive, but the bees hadn't killed him. In fact, the hive was completely untouched. The plastic bag had worked perfectly. It kept out the bees, the smoke, and the oxygen he needed to breathe. The farmer had forgotten to poke air holes in the bag. With his gloves taped down, he couldn't rip the bag off his head. He suffocated trying to protect himself from bee stings. The lava lamp. In 2004, 24-year-old Philip wanted to use his lava lamp. He plugged it in and waited for it to start working. After a few minutes, nothing was happening. The lamp was still cold. Philip was impatient, so he came up with a brilliant plan to speed things up. He took the lava lamp and put it on his hot stove. There was just one problem Philip didn't know about. Lava lamps are only designed to handle temperatures up to 40 degrees. A hot stove gets way hotter than that. The lava lamp quickly overheated and exploded. Glass shards flew everywhere. One piece of glass went straight into Philip's heart. He died instantly. The chimney grenade. On January 13, 2005, 55-year-old Marco decided to clean the chimney in his workshop. He tried using a simple broom, but it was too small for the job. He needed to improvise. Marco figured he needed a chain to pull the broom through the chimney and a heavy object to weigh it down. Looking around his workshop, he found what he thought was perfect: a grenade. His plan was simple. He would weld the grenade to the broom and chain. Then he could pull the whole thing through the chimney. Marco got out his welding equipment and started working. He failed to think about what might happen when he put a flame near a grenade. As soon as the welding torch touched the grenade, it exploded. Marco was killed instantly. The chimney was left completely untouched by the blast. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for similar ones and feel free to drop suggestions for the next video in the comments.